야, 다들은 같이 인들라 진심도 그 쇼르드 아니 주시야.
So this evening, I'm envisioned, along with our practice of Sukhavati, accomplishment of Sukhavati, I'm going to give a Dharma talk.
Oh yeah. Rồi ta nằm dưới ngã cái chú xe đi cặp sơ, chú để để chi nhị cái thổ là, anh cho ta chỉ muốn đồ ta anh muốn gì sẽ chứ cái để chi nhị cái thổ ta để xe cái gì đấy.
So I usually explain things in terms of two categories: preliminary practice and main practice.
Chỉ tăng tới ngã chúng này sẽ na nhắm ní cái người cái chú để là để chính行的人，để因那样，当我做了我呢给就要不知道，他人帮你可能买票个有的，但是就咱呢，你去南去我住当，南去我住时呢，他去时的看着给进步一嘛，但是个呢就多的，他来稍微拖的嘛。这些家的当我去国家什么的给进步就在有些点的咱的人，哦。去些啊，这是讲忙些，你阿弥达巴我就念念的，人人把的用都当了，但这是个影响。
And so our main practice will be the Sukhavati Buddhamitabha practice. But since we do have interpreters, comes from a long way, I want to emphasize a little bit more some of my explanation to this evening, talking about briefly just how important practice of Dharma is.
어디에 있는 자니? 남중의 주시의 값을 또 지금 뭐라 간르지게 송사리 감도 몇 발은 튼바지. 와, 몇 발은 튼들지, 든지 탑시세네. 다. 든지 시게 유스. 든지 자니 단난 칸이 바로기라. 단디 거때. 제가 뭐 망보지게 난주시야 되지. 통보지다. 베나치 냠링 거 아니 Dzogchen Mahamudra 든지 거라 벤 통보지 아니 단도 시게 유리. 아니 유근이 지금에 많이 그치. 로도 남지당 락바등 임종거 삼바다 산초고 신라소바 디거데 빡게 진보리데 아니 디스거데 마 남이데 당네 뭐만보지게 개진보이 뭐 하고 허유 말이 세장 나랑 계획 든지 다 뒤자지 든지 요리 뒤톤들에 만 시작이니.
So when teachings of Buddhism are given, they need to be given in accordance with the constitutions and the interests, the capacities of those who are receiving them. And when I give explanations of Dharma, I try to do that, to make it something that is suitable to where someone is. And yet a lot of people, when they think of Buddhism, they think of very lofty practices, very high practices, the practices of Dzogchen, of Mahamudra, of Madhyamika. And they have a great interest, great eagerness to engage in these practices, but are not really that interested in practices that are more really at the foundation, the very basis of Buddha's teachings. And so I want to speak about some practices in Buddhism that are at the foundation of the practice this evening. With this
the foundation is no.
Mangshi.
That man you go Namjun chu she the kapso.
And for instance, some of these basic teachings are the 4 thoughts that turn the mind, as they're called, without going into what they are. And then also the 3 principal paths, renunciation, bodhicitta, and insight into emptiness or the nature of reality. These are some of those foundational teachings which sometimes people don't show enough interest in.
Yin yang dong gong da la di chu de daily affirmation kare ji si do that the all the ko ni ma do din de she da ge yin si.
So I want to give a brief explanation of the prayer written on this card called the daily affirmation.
Yeah. Ani that the mama shil huna ani that ngarang ge tiju inde jani ngarang lakpa la ni koran ju da loma de so churang lakpa ge dero shi ne ya bo no si ni re wa chi ge do ta ngarang ge tiju inde jani ngarang lakpa ge chiran so ma te ge yin si ani de nan de ne daily karsa ti
Daily affirmation.
the karsa ge information se karo daily
Affirmations and
daily
yimbare.
nima takwa re shi
Nima tabare shi la don't
oh te sin ta ti nan yin se ne korang daily affirmation de nan yin se ne ni chiran su nyam ni na ro chi sing ge lakpa ni ma chiran su te ge.
So the affirmation here in the sense of something to say daily. And so I'm the one who's composed it. And so there was some interest expressed that I could directly give it to people. And so I want to do that first, to hand you this copy of the prayer that I've composed, or this affirmation.
Do you have this number 2 hard hours? Anybody? You have Susan? Okay. Do you have this one? Okay. Oh no, sorry. This one. Okay. 다 되게 그래서 아주 취시야 돼. 담본디 더 진심적으로 윤대대 마치 드레인 항아도 뭐 내가 들어요. 디 냠데 베노 냠데 마 당지 마당 디 유거드네 아니 인바데 뜻이 사 인바당 아니 디 바로드네 아니 취시해줘세 아니 취시엘린 지네 아니 살리 값으니 뭐하다 뭐나 그만 다 요절들 시게.
So for our abbreviated Sukhavati practice this evening, I want to say the prayer to the lineages of the Amitabha practice, and then recite the mantra some, and after that, then give the talk, and then finish with some dedication and prayers.
Yeah. That the Indutani, Namja Junde. 중의질래죠. 운동 삽세야 때 뺏게 지부고는 나랑가 때 냠린시고요. 말아야 때 냠때 시에요시.
So as I always say, the preliminary stage is even more profound and important than the main practice. That's what I think myself, that's what I practice myself, and that's what I explain to others.
근데 인도자니 다 중의질에 야보지 차고이나 운동에 아니 지심바데 뺏게 진보지리지.
So if the main practice is to go well, it's very important that it be supported by that, in the correct way, by that preliminary practice.
근데 인도자니 bên 중의질에라 아니 로망보 나와망보 근데지라지 르고고니 까와지 나가고니 힘바당 생각고는 즉 곰잡 다 룡아 이성 간득직들이 제대로 로 망보지라 아니 문로 추대 야보지 운홍도 야보지 마성화 이나 아니 추대 그 핀레 자야 늘리기 줄라든지 근데 용어도 와.
So even if practices of body, speech, and mind are engaged in for a very long time, practicing prostrations and so on with the body, recitations of mantra and so on with the speech, meditating with the mind. Even if this goes on for long periods, if it's not supported by an appropriate motivation, it may not be beneficial. In fact, it can't even make it harmful. It can be harmful if such practices are engaged in with improper motivation.
근데 인도자니 다 강다장 중의지대 부다보 다 장망보당 지 된대지 마성화 이나양 아니지 다 부장보지 통통지라 연 통통지라 부장 야보지 다때 뺏게 진보리지.
And the main practice is very important that it be of high quality. Not that it be lengthy, it can be short session, but it's of prime importance that it be very high quality, the main practice.
Pena 부장직에 pena 니바다 제나 옴 아미데와스 옴 아미데와스 옴 아미데와스시 삼바 남다르 아니 룡아 이슴 찍듯 막 찍듯 쓰네 아니 지 차드 차주 내지 뜬바 내장 아니 지 공long 인바당 신양 인아세네 아니 아미데와 인바 찍듯 온다만보던 천만보던 설만보던 내장 심 찍찍들 빠 찍찍들 때네 용의 지슴 참은 요와 심지 담바 의지미미 담바 아니 용화 담바시 담바슴 참은 용의 지슴 참은 아니 니바 차드 차주 내지 뜨나 피용대 치아유지.
For instance, if the mantra of Buddha Amitabha, Om Amitabha Hri, is said 7 times, 10 times, with very single-pointed concentration, very singly pointed, pure intention, where one's whole being is concentrated with deep, positive, pure intention, and saying that mantra just 7-10 times is much better than saying the mantra hundreds and thousands of times with just a very loose kind of concentration, not really thinking about anything at all. So if that even a very short period of mantra recitation is supported by that such pure intention, and is supported by all the three stages. If it's supported by the preliminary stage of the altruistic intention, bodhicitta, the main practices without distraction, and then the final dedication is made, again without any distraction, then that's much more powerful than saying mantras for long periods of time without any kinds of pure intention or concentration. So the important thing is for the preliminary intention is that it be imbued with love and compassion.
Rang tad dewan de pa rang tad donghar me de pa simchi chama chipa indu de simchi te nam ani dewa de dim thapsi ani langga ta nangbu chu sina ta chu nyam ni sian de ke thoni royale ma to langga yimba kayang me du chani di chu de ngarang ke nyam ni ya bo ji chen ani yin ge chi de nge la len chi gi sa ba ani damja dang dren de ani ta kar chi gol chi member simji ni jang ani simji zamna ya ma ya ne simji de ni damja lan dren ne ni so yi na ani ngune ge ta yo simji dam ba se de cha ge yu si.
So this means feeling, how much we ourselves wish to be happy, wish to be free of problems and suffering, and realizing that it's just the same for all the sentient beings, all living beings throughout space, and that the ultimate method, or the only real method for bringing about that happiness, is the practice of an inner development, the practice of Dharma. And so therefore I'm going to apply myself to this practice of Dharma, and so that I can also guide others into this practice. So this is the bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, in connection with the love and compassion, this intention to bring benefit to living beings. And this is the very intention with which we come together for our practice. And I ask, why do we come here? Why do we come to do this practice? It's for this purpose, and to develop that determination within ourselves through meditating on the four immeasurables of how wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and the causes of happiness. And I will find the means to bring that about. How wonderful if beings could be free of suffering and causes of suffering. Being determined, I myself will find a way for that to happen. So having a very vast, far-reaching motivation, an intention that is all-encompassing in this way.
Ngarang la kangan dende chi yu, ngarang ke ngarang kanga ngarang se to kumado maze pa ngarang kum chimsang kanga de nge se to kumado nge chi hie na ning kumado nang ta da nyamba da pa se pa hyo hyo nge kan de sin sim ji de ji ge de ji to gri samba sen kusu to po de yong si gri.
So it's possible that somebody might think, you know, this is just so completely beyond them. I can't clear away my own problems and suffering, or those in my family. If I explain Dharma to them, they don't listen. So how could I, extend this intention to, doing that for all living beings when I can't even do it for myself, for my relations, and therefore sit very quietly and feeling that it's impossible. So it's possible that somebody might, think that.
Yina yang pen samba yindun samna randun shordun siaji lamnam na yo samba yindun samna ani randun to shordun samba yindun sene ani yundun drumna ta randun shordun ba to she ma go ri samba yindun samba tsamji ani randun to shordun go yo ri.
But what finally happens is by absorbing ourselves in the welfare of others, our own welfare is accomplished as a byproduct of that. So even just wishing to accomplish the welfare of others does bring about our own well-being.
So
therefore, I would highly encourage you to put your mind into that very vast, far-reaching intention and motivation as we go into the practice.
Page 25.
So we'll recite from page 25.
Namo Amida Bhaya Majachu, page 80.
Page 80.
No. Jachuna.
Second line.
Ima Hong Sar Sanje Nangwan Taye Da Roje Nimo Techen Tora So Sanje Sansen Pame Tamche La Seje Pebe Semje Solwande Dada Jokang Wada Dada So Nangwan Taye
Nimba Tang and the Chicken, Nimba Tang and the Chidu, that Sarba Kashijindua, Edela, and Nimbate, or Dujima, Dorjichi.
I will recite the mantra, and since there are some new people, I'll give a little bit of introduction to it.
Tang Atu, Erg number 2 de Zawasun, Tangagoni, Tan number 2 Jiong Tola. 산제 추다 gendu네 타완데 반남지 잡시 공조선 잡네 그 토라 아니 베베 난추데라 아니 라마 예담 아니 칸로스네 자와스입니다.
So in Tibetan Buddhism, in addition to the three refuges of Buddhism, which are said to be the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, which are the refuge for those who seek liberation, Tibetan Buddhism speaks of the three roots, the Guru, the Yidam, and Dakini.
근데 전에 땅 그릇이야 돼 소수다 라마 된다시네 주시니 아니 예담서야 돼 선합제 자와 라마 무듭제 자와 예담 아니 바치에서와라 아니 간로다 주종시 다시 내가 돈들 시기 유리시.
And the functions of these, it said that through the Guru, that one whom one receives explanations of Dharma from, that one receives the blessings, and through the meditational deity or Yidam, personal deity, that one meditates, that one receives attainments, and with the help of the dakinis and dharma protectors, then obstacles and hindrances are dispelled, cleared away.
어떤 자네 다 드랭 가서 봐봐 아주 제티 보다 아미타바 시단데 냠내시기 유리시.
So here in the place of as the yidam, as a meditational deity, we're focused on the Buddha Amitabha.
아니 네 산제에 아니 넙지 소리죠. 야와래 나가 낭니 아니 직한 넙지 소리죠. 근데 산제지리시.
So there's one primary categorization of Buddhas into 5 families, and when those are arranged in 4 cardinal directions and central direction, Buddha Amitabha is in the western direction of those 5 family Buddhas.
아니 저땅권에 산제다 산주 선바 남 아니 심지 그들라 투지라 최총 투지라 예행 근데 가야 요 말이시 참아 지과리시 심지 산지다 산주 선바 이내양 단디 부다 아미타바 텐데지나 니마가도 갑츠 아니 마음부 심지 손 아니 공공마 무나 망보지 심지 단 니마가도 갑츠 심지 담지 그등에 지기 심지 마다와 담지 드라기 마도와 쪽이 뭐 마용 발라 뭐 용기 용수냥의 만대베 심지 담지 용수냥의 렌다와 지기 손에 아니 딱 음악 값바 망보 값이 아니 그런 그 투지다 무남 된지 낭요이시.
So generally speaking, there is no difference in the depth of compassion, wisdom, or love of any Buddha, any different Buddha. However, Buddha Amitabha did make prayers many ages ago, specifically on behalf of beings during this age in which we live, an age of violence and degeneration, making prayers to be able to help beings for this time especially, that may I be able to liberate those who are not liberated, grant relief to those who are, caught in intense suffering, and may I set all into the bliss of nirvana, the liberation of nirvana. So specifically for beings of our times, he made these prayers.
어떤 자네 아니 아미 대와 서셔야 돼. 당아 좀 먼저지로 마소는 맹지 배는 뭐지 맹이나 배는 트라시시야다. 아니 갤럭시야 된지 배박 뭐지 맹이나 트라시시나 아시나 깨다 그러와. 어빼디나지 아미 대와 서셔야 돼. 산제 오바미 코란근 치네 아니 가서 벽이 배나 당아주 부충충지가 아마라 벽고 있나 담보 아마스네 게 담는 비나 아마다 그 아스네 저 야치기라 배디나지는 가서 산제 오바미 그 친데 심데네 아니 끝이 가서 호화당이 송거 동할 때래 아니 니와니도 잡아지 아니 니마 때레니 정데 아니 산제 오바미 치레 마도 아니 레사잡네 속가양
So, saying this mantra, then we're more or less saying the name of Buddha Amitabha. We're calling Buddha Amitabha by name. Just like calling the Tibetans by the name of Tashi or Gelek by their names, at which point you would get a response. They would say, oh, what? And so, here we're calling on Buddha Amitabha. And the example is given of a child calling out for their mother, of chanting the mantra in that way, which is sure to get the mother's attention. So we make a prayer through this reciting the mantra to Buddha Amitabha to please protect me and all beings. Please guide me and all beings as quickly as possible. And we say it with the kind of single-pointed feeling that of it being our only hope. We're saying, when we recite this mantra calling Buddha Amitabha, we're saying, I have no hope but you. I have no one to rely upon but you. I will not look for anyone else but you to help me.
Tati sowa tapang del ten de chiri. Tati tabli kapsu ani guru Rinpoche song doa. Pachong malam be pe dunyang tar. Pawang ling bu dang tan hin ba ye. Nim chi tiro nam so sowa to song na. Tachi tengen nam de shege tati de chiri. Ta nga chu ke la pawang ling bu ka dang tar de mi na ya tereng. Ngune pawang ling bu ka dang te la ta pe no ke nyam de ram dek sin ani nga chu tang ge yuri. Den de du chan ani. Den de chi se na ke nim bu ko ne ani. Dungshu Drubkhang Nyangi Drubkhang den de so wa tam na ani tu ji sarap nyu dun ju wa ke tem de yu song do wa.
As I always explain, Guru Padmasambhava said when reciting mantra, to recite it like a child calling to their mother, with the beauty of flutes and lutes throughout all the periods of the day and night. And so we have the real beauty of flutes and lutes, with Michael adding his accompaniment on the piano this evening. And with that beautiful sound, then reciting with that a kind of very intense longing and nyangin sungbe.
Nyangi ke de se ko la.
By really calling out, like really crying to Buddha Amitabha for the direction and refuge and so on. That through this it brings very swift response from Buddha Amitabha and the awakened beings.
Oh yeah. ya. Ya, tang a chung yi ge chu. Tan do de Amitabha, do de che. Tang yi ge. Chu de de ma shu yin xi.
So now with that brief Amitabha practice, we'll go into the main talk this evening.
한디 쇼자데 나랑랑게 디지지리시 아니 홉디 갈았다거나 지당아 남부 자화지 인도 전에 자화지가 되디 뭐만보지가 그는 난추 남바 있는 난추 시대죠. 단디 쇼부터 가서 남바 많이 나양 같이 잠벨랭 심지 대완도 봐 동하는 면도 봐 아니 지 남바 많이 나ян데 그 냠니시 줘야지 거죠.
So, me being the author of this, what's written on this card, and being a Tibetan monk, then people may think, well, these are teachings of Buddhism. But I think that these are teachings, the kinds of things that would be helpful for anyone, whether they're Buddhist or not, in this world. And there are things that are very important for us.
Nambali jina namba mayin bali jina mandawa jinga chu nambala ni yarab da zanju dikol go yura de ni de zane ta nambala la xie ma gwa de namba mayin na yang mala yarab mala zanju ani ji mala choshi de ji go yu na tan dikol de ke chi mo ri sang no si.
So these are not the high titled practices of Dzogchen, Mahamudra, but these are the kinds of things that even if someone is not a Buddhist, they would want to incorporate into their life if they're going to have any kind of honorable lifestyle. So this first line says contentment is supreme wealth, so don't lust for anything.
Zambeleng ngarang la gone ngarang la wang de na tarong yimba ji go sam de ya ji ko sem ko wang che la tang na sem khorang ka sang sam che ka ti bo wang tang ya wa ina de de ta ne ko choshi se ya de.
So if we were let to have the mind have its own way, by getting what it wants, and there would be no end to it. Even if we, no matter what we get, with the mind, the mind will always want more. So thus we speak about contentment, satisfaction.
Northern Cho say at Richie Sing with Pichil, some of down the machine. Can't none the day. Oh, Northern Choshi. Some tiny pache, Kalekabori.
So many people would not recognize contentment as the supreme of wealth. They would tend to think more of great riches as being the supreme of wealth. It wouldn't be likely that they would look inward and realize that having inner contentment is really the supreme of wealth.
다 노진 초시에서도 자네 칸낭도 띠네 생고 나는 상황 땅데 샘도 뽑왕도 땅와 있나 아니 생고 말아와시네 생 코란 거 왕도 땅나 아니 나랑 직접 마시와다 다 망보지 용거도 삼다.
So it's a matter of looking inward, turning inward. Because if the mind is allowed to chase outward, after things, then there's there's no end to the mind simply to wanting things, no end to desire.
내들이 산지 좀 되는데 그 송도와 강란 노래요 내가 동거리요.
So Buddha said that whoever has the wealth has the suffering.
다때 인디자니 다 초시해야 돼. 뺏게지 모르지. 다 초시해야 돼.
So contentment is something that's very important.
근데 인디자니 아니 능한 마치시. 다 그는 능한 마치셔야 되게 생 코란 거 왕도 땅네. 빼나 빼지잖아. 당한다 질 빼지잖아. 빼나 당가 네 나랑 로진도도 나랑 냠냠통 시에. 빼나 가 급주 겁지로 니 자라 잡주 와서 용다. 갑때도
자가가
급주라. 베니 자라 야 잡주 와서 용도 급주 겁지로 직동 급주 겁지로 98. 가 자라 다람사로 용. 갑때도 가 빼빵고이. 빼샷 사완이님이. 문에 단데 주폴라. 빼샷 짱님이. 이네 선발을 빼마시 선바지고. 그 생기 초시 됐음데요라. 나랑 뜻이 능한다데 나라 대고혼도 삼바트 요 말와. 애니 다 지니 다 가래나 다다다 간라 간산 요리 다롱 빼는 나랑을 빼자와이나 다지 든지지 고혼도 빼나 다 나랑 찾지 간라 간산 죽고 소네 요리. 애니 지 로마리 다 가사 간이지 나랑 찾지 간라 간산 요리 다롱 죽고 소네나 능함지지. 아니 지팅 그 손에 있나요? 능함지지. 아니 생 코란 거 왕도 땅야와 있나? 참아 코란 다 가도 공도 시바리. 빼나 지 롱반 데 참아 나랑 왕되나 다른 롱바 임바지. 다 롱바 임바지 왕되나 다른 잠벨링 참아. 잠벨링 참아 나랑 왕되나 다른 생 코란 게 간거 말이야.
So to take a brief example from my own experience, when I came as a refugee out of Tibet to Dharamsala, India, in 1998, I really had nothing. I was completely without resources, but I was very happy. I was very satisfied in my mind. I didn't want for anything. I didn't feel like there was anything that I needed. So as time passes, the same holds true. For myself, if I allow my mind to just chase after external things, then I'll have all these big desires in the spiritual realm and big desires in the material realm. So the same holds true for me. If I don't focus inwards on the inner contentment, then the mind will just run after all sorts of desires.
Pena mechir pe yana di lumbate goyo na taro lumba jimba taro di lumba jimba te masin zambale yo na yang sen korang ngai kaya yo marwa pena mechir pe yana.
So for instance, if someone got control of a city or state, got control of the nation or even the whole world, that would never be enough. There would always be wanting more.
Jumsin telatinen zambale na ngasola manthok mambo jitin sang.
And that's the reason we have so many, problems, conflict and war in this world.
Pechi jana pena tangi jana dokchari sine pe jagamida jami dokchari si pe jaga pena jami ki chikta 치 코랑 시 주긴 로당 지요라 근데 지 삼로다 딱내 양지란 주디 시 계자시에서 마사 내 변송지 약이 맨나 야미 다다지 사체 나왕 되시려나 단 진짜 약한 망보지라 다 초심이네 은혜세나 야나 멤버 어서 망보지 사자 자침보래 여기 사차상도 야나를 유다다 왜 사동바 망보요래 다른 데에 막강네 아니 진짜 약한 망보지라 빼나 단 짐치기 약한 망보지라 순자 용되거든요 답변에 약합 찍라 초심이나 잠벨랭 짐치 약한 망보지라 아니 너저 용하다 나한테 질 초심이나 아니 침상당 네버든데 치가르스 거다 같이 침치다 로보다 뇌빨라 아니 지 순제 강아 다 강라 초심이나 아니 데라 아니 뇨다 데라 강아 데라 순제 유대와 다들 요거도 와.
And to give an example, I don't want to, talk about politics or to say that, China is bad, but just to take China as an example of any nation with expansionist kinds of intentions. There's a huge population in China, and they do have a lot of land. They're even in Tibet now, which belongs to China according to the world, or according to supposed politics anyway. There's a lot of empty land there. There's a lot of empty space already there. But still, other countries that are adjacent to China have to worry about being occupied or taken over by China. So this is what happens when a country has no contentment. It's always trying for more. If I in a family like that, in a household, then it's going to be bad for my neighbors, and it's going to create conflict from there.
Tisikol pe kaya chimbori yang aso ya. Ando si sama tawa ina, chi nyamni si te kayo nga chi nangba yin chi yin si xie ma dewa chi nan. Di kor te lalin ngus tok ne, ngus lalin tok, ngus samlo tang.
So really thinking about this and really seeing if we can practice it or not. Regardless of what other supposedly high practices of Buddhism that we're doing. And if you notice in that sentence, there's nothing specifically Buddhist about it. It doesn't have to be, Buddhist terminology. And the second line, jealousy causes exhaustion of merit, so be happy for everyone.
Bena ngarang gewa sa tuk mi gewa chipul cha ma ya na yang gewa sine nangbala tu ma de na yang dini ta yin gi chi bena ta chi bena nangba ma yin na yin gi chi lobda ja ya ta min khang ja ya ta anin zambelen gan ma ke ra chin tin de anin zambelen chi roba sia chop so ko roba sia pe ma si su nam sa ba ge ya ya bo chi do o tin di ko la ani chi so su ni sam lo tang pe masi yabori mune ngarang ka tendechi si ma thanna ya korang ka sewa tel ngoso tu hachen yabori samba nyeng thapani sim thapani thado mipe thone ni samba namda ka korang japchu sewa ina ni tela yirang se ka yura korang ka gisala yirang ro yura.
So if we know how to think about things very skillfully with means and wisdom, then it doesn't matter what kind of outward aspect or form a practice takes, whether we're holding prayer beads or wearing robes. Just sitting on our seat, tremendous amounts of practice can be done if we know how. And for instance, the practice here is one that simply focuses on other things that have been done that are positive actions and results in the world that are done by people. It provides a very wonderful foundation for practice because we can think about that and very sincerely from the depths of our hearts rejoice in it. Even if we aren't able to accomplish it ourselves, we will partake of the positive energy. We will create a tremendous amount of positive energy by rejoicing in it.
Tene zane tene ji seba ina ani thado yuba ina yinji geza la yinji lekpa la yinji partang ta tene yura apena yinji lancho yinji zo ani yin ta chi namba maina ya dikola ani thado seba ina ani so sunamze is.
And on the other hand, if we're jealous of the positive actions that others are accomplishing, or even not in a Buddhist context, we can become jealous of anything, a person's looks, person's status or wealth. And this causes an exhaustion of our own positive energy or merit.
다 대마인베 손이 아니 타도 나 수남세비 저인도 다 타도 그 님보들라 가르치고 도시나 아니 예랑시나.
So the real antidote, remedy to being jealous of another's good fortune is rejoicing.
How to say 예랑 English?
Rejoice.
아,
Rejoice.
rejoice. Rejoice. 야, 예랑. Rejoice. You say happy for everyone. Rejoice.
Rejoice for
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
눈다 치고.
Uh-huh.
나 교본 근데 게 소버베.
저런 그 요리 돼.
그래.
빼야 뭐 정도씩 가장 애 볼은 봐요. 아니 다디 차도도 여바이나 아니 소남 사가 예시. 이랑지 지바이나 아니 소남 냠도 용거리시. 다들 독소니로고도 와. 독소니. 배나 차도 유나 아니 랑라 차도 유나 이나 가야 누구 말이 나랑 차도 유디잖아. 이나 가야 누구 뭐도 나랑 차도서 셈 나보세. 코트라 마신 사데 나랑은 나차요. 아니 나랑은 셈 맞대 와요. 나랑 주볼 누구로 와야. 이나 차도서 삼람다 당된 근데지게 아니 소시 주볼라엔 투딘라엔 누구 요리라 아니 소남에 세그리시 게다 세그리 소남 세그리시. 아니
So when we don't rejoice in others' good fortune, if we're really jealous of it, we resent it, we're angry about it, it will cause sickness for ourselves. It will make us unwell physically, make us unhappy, and it will also undermine and destroy the positive energy, the merit that we've created that would otherwise cause our plans and life to go well.
또 이랑 지바이나 소나도 냠도 용성도 와. 이랑 지나 이랑 곰나 아니 인제 개와시바 투베체 데라 타도 미게 셈바네 이네 가베 지스 이랑나 데 소나 냠도 토바라 송무시네 데 송도 와. 인제 개와시바 투베체시 인제 개와시바 통어체시 통화이난다 투바이난다 인제 개와시바다 인제 가르치 야보세와 인달 일럭 빠다 용데 간데 요나 디콜라니 랑게 이랑세바이나 아니 랑게시 마탑나야 디 코랑게 개와사 수남사 야리디 수남데 가랑는 냠도 통송도 와.
And it doesn't harm another person if we are jealous of them. It only harms ourselves. Whereas on the other hand, if we are happy about it, about anything we hear that is about others that has gone well, or got good actions, or anything we see others engaged in that is positive, if we rejoice in it, then we receive the positive energy. We create positive karma, positive energy or merit through that.
근데 전에 남부 추대 생고 토론도 하요다. 조 생고 돈에 로고요라 르다 아니 그 돈을 취된 로고 취시나 게데 가영 르다 아니 돈을 시라 로고요 말이 조 생고 돈을 로고요라.
So really, the practice of Buddhism is in the mind, the mental processes, mental transformation, not so much in the speech and body.
나 되게 되시. 아니 숨바 되게 삼바 장보네 난주지 힘보 임베 유드 냠니 수시.
Then the third line is having good motive is Dharma's essence, so practice it always without forgetting.
다 삼바 장보세야 돼. 다 추가 낭니. 다 추가 힘부 낭니 힘보리지.
So the very quintessence of Dharma is pure intention, having good intentions.
삼바 장나 사단 라면 장 삼바 니나 사단 라면 니. 탐지 삼바 달라레 라레베 딱버 삼바 장나 닌티 사시. 단지 송요아.
As it said, from bad intentions lead to bad destinations. Good intentions lead to good destinations and results. So since everything depends upon your intention, always be mindful of the intentions that you have.
다 대인들자는 그마 조지 바디아도 샤벨이 여기들이 값을 코랑 로마슨 유리다 롬 잡은 중에 원래 비시랍 아니 표정 맞추는 생각 공숨 유디자니 아니 코랑 내대 남주 시에게요 아니 코랑게 다 조지에 기차티네 아니 코랑게 담보 싸움도 다 로마 야가데 롬 잡은 중에 가르치거나 하고 아니 로마질라 롬 잡은 중에 가르치기도 없으디 다 레댕게 쭈라강 침보지 잉는 강바 배상 직보던데 다가 넣으시대 야서 아니
So this story that I tell about Atisha and his three disciples, to mention that again, where he was inquiring about his best disciple, where he thought was the best disciple, Drom Tumpa, Gyawa Jungne, and when he inquired after him, he found that he was building a huge temple, monastery, and so he heard that, was not very impressed.
아니 르피치라고 가르치기도 시대 다 로마 처망보 동타 망보라 아니 배쳤던데 배 용던데 배쳤던데 침보 시엔던데 양도 오시.
And then the second best disciple, Ngok Lengpa Sherpa, he asked what he was doing and heard the answer that he was giving teachings to hundreds and thousands of students.
아니 대잡 이번나요 말이지.
And Atisha was also not extremely impressed by that either.
아니 다 코랑 로마 타마데 세고라 다 대니 야슈에 삼 담보 맹대된 타마데라 다 표정와 대게 가르치거든 야다 뒤 가르치고 표정와 가르치거든 시대 다 표정와는 롱바 크조지는 거네 아니 징 근데슨 거 쳤던데 징데 거 쳤던 아니 닝심이 봐 뭐되거든 딱바 레실은 응원을 들으시 되거든 딱 아까 소마 승군하니 고 표정와 그 추야선 아니 사탐을 기회 쪽이잖아 다 되고 추야지 다 삼바다 닌지에서야 삼바 장보요 봐 삼바 장보다 삼바다 닌지 된지 요는 매는 치마다 심진이 되나 아니 닌지 요는 매는 치마다는 거 하요라 좀치 될라티네 아니 또 영화 침보지 나요르시.
And then asking about the third of these best students, Puchungwa. Then he heard that this disciple was in some remote section of the woods with his robe over his head and just crying throughout the day and night. And as the teacher heard this, and he was very moved by that. Said, this is my disciple who's really practicing the teachings. And so what he meant by that is that this was a disciple who was one who had completely immersed himself in the in the intention of compassion, of love for sentient beings, which was why he was crying, thinking of the plight of sentient beings bound in suffering. So he reacted by putting his hands over to the crown of his head and just with tremendous respect for the what practice that Puchungwa was doing. So that having that pure intention, that good motive is what it's all about. Now people can see how we act, how we speak, how we physically act, but no one can see our mind. We're the only ones that can know, what our intentions are. Now if someone is acting very holy with like a robe over their shoulder or something, but inside has really bad intentions, that would not be good. So we can take the example of a fruit and 4 possibilities. One, that it looks ripe on the outside, but it's not ripe on the inside. Another one that is ripe on the inside, but doesn't look ripe on the outside. And third possibility where it's not ripe outside or inside. And the fourth, where it's ripe outside and inside. So we would like, so some people, if they're acting, very much like a Buddhist, that would be sort of looking ripe on the outside. But if there's nothing, but if you bite into that fruit, it might be rotten on the inside, right? So we want to be ripened on the inside and outside, and especially on the inside. But in the outer comportment, that should reflect that also. So this is the kind of example that Buddha gave. So there's some people that wear robes of Buddha's teachings, but create a lot of problems in the world. So if anyone does that, it's not good. Pride is an impediment to exemplary conduct, so be humble always.
Any Japa Monastery, any Lanzo Zotimo, any Pamjo Chimbo, Ju Chimbo, any no long Ju Chimbo. That Najarchi, you are Yuntin Chimbo, Love John Chimbo. That Najar Kinsachi, Tambo Naran, Jungsanchi Mina, Naja Yumarwa. She Zansok Yuntin, also Chimina, Naja Yungumarwa. The name the Tani, this whole and some not done. Oh, data, data, chi yin samba ni ngarang la samlo tan nga da chi yin samba de ji jot de chi ti ne ani chi nga ja de yogo do
So pride is a very negative kind of thing. And the kinds of things that people may be proud of could be their family status or their caste. In India, there's the caste system, in which the highest castes are the Brahmin, or priestly caste, and the royal caste. And someone, might be proud of that, of having this higher status in society. We don't have that in this country, but then people can be proud of their wealth and their plenitude, of the abundance of food and wealth and being
or
then people become proud of learning if they become very educated. It's only once you develop some kinds of qualities or have some of these kinds of qualities that then the danger of pride arises. As you're just starting out, it's not so much of a possibility, but once you have some wealth or status or you have some knowledge, then that's when pride can creep in as a negative influence.
The
example is given that water will not accumulate on a puffed up ball or like a balloon. No positive qualities will collect there, similar to the water. It'll all just roll right off.
So that chick Malay Judan Hong said the Zodai Zane, any Zamjuka Gado is Yarab Zanjuka, the Gado Nachiko Pachi.
So this kind of attitude then causes people to be very inconsiderate of others, to have a very arrogant way of walking and talking, and so it creates an obstacle to acting nobly or exemplarily in the world.
All the name the Zane, any tad means as on Gorista, Maranachi Fobion, you did the Yoba Yinayang, any Yina, Shesa, Kuba.
And so therefore to always keep a humble position, no matter how much one is able to develop in spiritual qualities, to keep humility.
Benchen Chimé Tulku, Japa Monastery, Lama Mambo, and that then the best some Japa Lama. The Hobdical Tagona, Masi Nyom Chung, Musokang, the Lama Drukotang, the Karisigo Lachin, the Jimbaji, Pacha Hakomari, the Lord of Sope, Juma, and in Melape, Kukur.
So my guru Sanjay Tenzin Rinpoche was a great example of this. He was really a perfect guru, with thousands of disciples. But to look at him, you would never think that he was such a position. He looked completely humble in his bearing.
And he said, "Down the Gesem to be made in Bay, Gulan Ninja, Gees."
Hatred is a fire that burns up virtue, so meditate with compassion for all.
Ta shedang rangjula shedang yubayina, any Gewatawani, Negyu Maris.
So if we have anger in our mind, hatred in our mind, no virtue, no positive state of mind will be able to remain within us. And previously created virtue will be exhausted, will be finished, will be destroyed by that. So
kalpa tongcha ta lo japtha mambo la sa yali pena ta nga da chi kalpa tongcha ma se ta lo mambo chi la nyamlin sin cham la de de chi se de kap de du ta nga jar chawa ni chi khong tho de zang ni ma se ta ju chi chi la tin de me chi la khong tho da nga jar de de chu ba na chi shor de se na lo japtha mambo ta lo tongcha mambo la sa yali gi ta chama de ni ma de ni mo ni zong de ko meli chan de yong so do.
In the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Conduct, Shantideva says that virtue created over eons can be destroyed in an instant when it's directed towards holy beings, for example. Taking myself, for example, like the virtue I create in retreat over a number of years, during which time I may not have had any kind of anger during that time, but then if today I get angry with someone, it can destroy all of that positive energy that I created before. Even hundreds and thousands of years of positive energy can be destroyed in an instant, just like that.
Lo mambo la tende le zawa lama ani taga na yin lo mambo zawa lama je ge nyam de ani chu shu de le do ji chi ro sang ha ge chu shu de le ani so su ji ngone chen de le ji be jiang de le pa da ma den zhe go la ni xie dang zha de den ji song yin na ta kalpa tong cha mambo ji le sa ya le ge zang yo ba da ma ze ani xie dang di ge wa di ju le di ne ani nya wa do ji di nya wa la ani nya wa do shu le ji ya den de yong song do.
And for instance, if one were to get angry with a spiritual guru who one has received teachings from for a long time, or with spiritual companions from the same guru, or if one becomes angry with parents who have cared and nurtured one for years and years, by getting angry, especially with these kinds of people with whom we have this kind of relationship where we've received tremendous amounts of kindness from them, this especially can destroy thousands of eons of positive energy that we've created in the past.
다 시당세야 돼. 랑그 주는 개심 측 받아 마세. 개심 측 차도 아니 소수 심나 시당 요나. 아니 콘트롤 아니 라니라 아니 심나 나차고야. 아니 주볼라 나차. 심나 나차.
So even if we don't say anything, if we have anger in our mind, it can create mental pain, physical pain.
So it says
that the angry person is never happy. So what's the opposite? What's the antidote, the remedy of hatred? Compassion. Compassion is the opposite. So we need to let that mind of hatred settle, let the mind settle, and bring out the compassion, the feeling for others. In the last line, miserliness causes preta rebirth, so be generous towards everyone. So this miserliness, or this avarice, is that lack of contentment in the mind that just always is hankering for something else.
pamjur go mari nga chola pesha go mari te yapo mari sin so kang la go yuma nanchu na ne yang pamjur go mari sin so kang la go ma pamjur ga ba jan yuma da.
Now, this is not a rejection of prosperity in general. We're not, Buddhism, or nowhere does it said that people don't need prosperity.
Yina yang yu chali kapsa pechu tansa jita sosola. Pamjo yuli kapsa sunam sakpa chachin jitang. Pamjo yuli kapsa ini sunam sepe ni jul rokdoa. Pamjo yu ne ini sunam se na pedok jari. Pamjo jul ti ne sunam se. Ini ta ngarang ke samada malate mada. Ini pamjo ti ne ini chupa shor. Ini tendechi se na pamjo ko nyora ri na ta thap jora. Pamjo yu pe jul ti ne any take sonam sakpa chachi. Ya chi control chuba. Mang in only jimba tonya. Any chi yina lo shindep jaya, shindep the ropasia. Last of us sina mi betoni to the sewaina, then the pamjo yule kochura.
So it's really a shame if wealth just causes more problems for us. When we have the wealth, just to hoard it, not be able to let go of it, to get into fights with others over it. It's really a shame. Better than that, when we have the resources, when we have the wealth, to use it for positive purposes, to be generous with it.
And
just help others however we can, then this is a tremendous help to developing positive energy ourselves, creating merit.
Nga chi chuso ni mata pa tende ko chi samo tangbaina churang la pamjon khangba ka cheo pesha ng ka cheo na sanin cheba kapsu churang la kolmo chik churang ge la kunun roya me pa nga chu shirwa da musum chemak.
And no matter what kinds of wealth we accumulate in the world or in the spiritual realm of any kind, dharma centers or whatever, at that time of death, we can't take the slightest bit of it with us. We can see this with our own, valid, direct perception. And before having to lose all we've accumulated at the time of death, with a lot of regret, if we can use it to benefit others and ourselves in this way, then, it will give us peace of mind and fulfillment right now.
The Sena say the Kala Yurisina Sena Teate, Sanjik Sondoa, Kangla Noriu, Yang de la Sena.
So who has this?
Who
has miserliness? Who has avarice? It's the one with wealth, right? So, you got to get in that position first of having the wealth before you can. Which is not easy, but then it can be rarer, But that's when the miserliness and avarice can attack. So this is something true, again, from my own experience.
1998 to 2004 and 5, I in India. That from
98 to 2004, 5, I was in India, no money. Not pretty much no wealth of any kind. I was pretty destitute.
ngarang nyar de mal te yogo ta pango da tende jala pe pango mambo da chon shira jala pango mambo doa ani pe ba chu tende mambo yori ani pe ne onje chap chu wa tende pe khatsang tan tin sang ya yong je tende pe kang an the de mambo yori ngarang la komo jam shimina komo ngap ju de khang te yogo yo sega de de sida komo chik tong na komo ngap ja de mal te yogo 다 andi si samlo tangde 다 osa yuli cha chali kapsu 다 te thuku mdoda 다 ngarang andi si cha samlo tangde nguma tele de ji te thuku mdo 다 tabshi si ne te gi ro 다 te kandi cha do sina gangla noryu de la sinna yu se ane nor mili kapsu sinna chunga do wa te ge do wa no yu chali kapsu 다 de choshi mili jin cha ge 다 ngala komo chik tong yu na ngala komo ni tong ra na sa any bank income to the town, bank, okay. Any tell a yard.
Then he did check house meal degona?
Did
check out meal degona?
That you multi gono, tanga bank, that the sun, that the yagura, that the scene called chick. Kangla nor you tell us now you see at some semari young.
So during that time, there were a lot of beggars in India, Indian beggars and Tibetans coming as refugees out of Tibet who were very destitute. And so whenever I did come upon some funds, I would give half of it away. If I had 100 rupees, I would give 50 away. If I had 1,000 rupees, I'd give 500 away. So that's how it was during that time. Since that time, as sometimes I've had bigger amounts to deal with, in the bank, then sometimes to think of it being convenient to give half of it away it changes, when you have more to deal with. So it's like that. When you don't have the wealth, there's not so much chance for that holding to come, that miserliness, that avarice to enter in.
다 센타네 다스 제 제임베스 다 센타 유데 자트 랑게 롱주 마다 인라야 제 마다 아니 드니지 소마이나 아니 디 무시난다 딘 강바 디 밤조 때게 아니 랑세 마데 와제네 아니 동고도와 아니 지셜라 아니 디 요데게 아니 마마보제네 요다 양 요다 라근도와 Tapi ngusum cemara nggak cuma mampu kode yura. Ini nyora yang tende yang kedua. Ini tende ke dikpa mampu ciri cina tine. Ini ciri ya dah le jiwa tende. Lungi mal, itu jiwa ke jual yang kau.
So when someone has a lot of wealth, but can't bring themselves to use it for themselves, can't bring themselves to use it for the sake of others, to give it away. Then it just causes discomfort in the mind, and it creates problems in the world when people are not generous, when they just hold on to the wealth, as we can see.
Deleja ani jimbatong sindi nani jimbatong kung le jimbatong ta jimbatong seate jimba seate mang ilong le jimba ya control and chuba ta tindi ko chaman logo yuri.
And so therefore to be generous, to offer up to awakened beings, be generous towards others and charitable towards the needy. And as mentioned in the line, otherwise, besides creating these kinds of discomfort and problems in the world, it can also cause rebirth in the realm of a hungry ghost or a preta, in a very desperate kind of spirit realm.
Yeah. I take the charge. Hard was number 2. Card number 2. The magic laro chisi inchi tola chinabe.
So let's read this verse in English on card 2. This precious human life, like a boat, is found but once and not repeatedly. Don't be slow to take the boat across the terror-filled ocean of samsara. That is my heart advice. So I don't think we need much explanation of this right now. I think we pretty much understand this. So this body, this human life, that we've received now is so important, and to use it as to the best way we can, and whether we're able to do particularly Buddhist practice or not, the kinds of practices here in the prayer of the daily affirmation are the guidelines for improving, developing ourselves in a positive direction. So please do think about this verse. Some while I'm gone, I'm going to be going to Portland now, definitely, and then after that I may be going to the East Coast, New York, Boston, Connecticut, or New Jersey. That's not definite yet, so we'll see about that. So during that time, these words of advice from the card number 2 and the daily affirmation, I would encourage you to not neglect these kinds of foundational, basic practices which people sometimes are negligent about, they don't take much interest in them. People talk about I'm enlightened, I've attained the rainbow body. I mean, that would be great if it can happen, but we're putting that aside. But if that doesn't happen, then to be a good person, like kind of taking these kinds of words of advice. And so, at least this is the kind of development that we want to look for in our practice of Dharma, to know that we have really brought some transformation in our life, from jealousy to rejoicing, from anger and hatred to compassion, from pride to humility, and so on. So this is really the effect of practicing Dharma. This is what I know happens from experience. So please excuse me if I'm being a bit direct
Sorry.
in this kind of advice here, maybe not coating it too much sugar, you know.
Yeah. Jedang ngazu pepe chu keja chi yuri. Lamen cho changla gowa dang danga kan cho changto de pepa yinsi. Tate pe ngarang la te pe gao yo. Lamen cho changla gowa. Lama kan cho de joba. Gegin tangbo te changla gowa risi. Shurang la chuncha ten dok. Shurang la chuncha ten dok. Shurang la chuncha ten dok sin zugo zog ni de laman cho de joba te risi. Danga kan cho de joba te changka to la chokkerwa. Oh, then Lame Songse Chama the Ngala Song Sabadachi Urada. Oh, they Dangak Chodin Chang Toro Tsupu. Lame Chodin Changagoa. That they prepare to the Shekida.
Now, in Tibetans, we have this proverb that says that the supreme of gurus is the one that uncovers the problems, points out the problems. And the supreme of instructions is when one really looks inward and realizes, oh, I do have this problem that needs remedy. So these are what we speak of as being, and I think this is true, for the supreme kind of teacher, really points out to us what we need to improve. And the supreme of instructions is when we really can take in that kind of advice.
Jirtanga Subuki Chutela Dalmasika, Dalmasiate Chusaki, Chusiate, Juju Tawalachi Koyura, Juju Tandu, that Jun Tama the Ma, Jun Tama the Juju Tangora, Zambusol, Jurgora, Chusiate, Jumsintera.
So we talk about Dharma being practice of mental development, of mental transformation. This is what it really amounts to.
Same Juju Tawajilla Chusakura. Same Juju Tawa Chusaka, and same Juju Town Chu Imbaina, any Injimin in Chang and Rogora. No, oh, that pen a meeting, Nandachina, oh, Chance pay Yabor, that pay Yabor is here, they were in the Chance of Juju Town.
So what is going to transform? It's the faults, the problems that need to transform. So if we don't see those, if we don't have those pointed out to us, then how is the transformation going to take place? So it's a matter of uncovering problems, just recognizing them, and then remedying them.
Yeah. Any talents have yoga in today? Any?
So we'll stop here for this evening.
Any dish of the Dzogchen?
So we're inducing the Dzogchen view.
They marching yam the song. Any karma kashijila gom jap. Any more monamata.
So we'll recite these lines and then do a brief meditation, and then finally our dedication and prayer.
English. Oh, yeah.
Don't wander. Extend mindfulness. On the path of distraction lurk demonic bandits. Attachment and aversion are the demons. So look at the illusory nature, released from duality. Primordially pure, unfabricated, one's own mind manifesting. Buddha is nowhere else. Settle right where you are. Not seeking it elsewhere, settle in the natural state. Without meditation, spontaneous is established. Enlightenment is attained. We'll meditate for a few minutes.
다들은 오케이. 다 콘츠가게 샤딘동의 인사 아니 샤딘 되마이나 인지도네 마 그게된 되마고 같이 인지도네 마지 송 아니 대사 되는 아주 뭐라한테 많다 좀 되시잖아.
So, we want to recite Rinpoche's own long life prayer, which is on some separate sheets in the book, if you can find them. 2 sheets there, we'll read it in English.
Only English.
Tibetan.
Yeah. English.
Oms, except for the first 2 words, we're going to say them, it's the Sanskrit. Om Swasti. May the blessings of infinite seas of our places of refuge, the force of the two truths, infallible interdependence, and especially the hosts of deities of immortal well-being, now rain down the magnificent splendor of their wisdom and power of longevity. The Lord of the dance of all victors' enlightened activity is Karmapa, your unquenchable thirst for the inner essence of his tradition's doctrines, of discourses, tantras, great seal, great perfection, and pith instructions, has brought the qualities of signs on the spiritual path, your experience and realization, to their full flowering. May your life be firm. May the wisdom mysteries of your body, speech, and mind be as perfectly firm as a Vajra's own immutable elements. May your gatherings, disciples who study and practice sacred teachings of scripture and realization by listening, contemplation, and meditation, cover the earth. May your activity reach its ultimate consummation. Accordance.
That's why. Yeah. Any other jonga let's say 150.
Then 115.
150 page. So nine Thank you. chi de lai